Gettysburg Address, delivered by Abraham Lincoln on November 19, 1863. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived and dedicated, and is dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. Those brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will ill know, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these on our dead we take great increased devotion to that cause for which they gave their last full measure of devotion, and that we here highly resolve that these men shall not have died in vain, and that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Lincoln's famous words were spoken to recognize, not to illuminate, the brave deeds of those who gave their blood at Gettysburg. In this address to those assembled at the site just 4 months after the savage battle, Lincoln continued about his own unworthiness and his inability to add any measure of honor to those who had fallen on the hallowed ground of the battlefield. They had already consecrated the ground beneath them. How can we relate to those of whom Lincoln spoke for what we believe? God is with us, and he was at that battlefield in Gettysburg in July of 1863. He respects our free will. Those responsible for causing the violence must answer to him, but those who defend the defenseless receive God's help. The evidence is that we are still a great nation. The words of the Gettysburg Address were not appreciated at the time they were spoken. Even though the war-weary people of his day did not grasp the deliberate words of the address, today we do. Lincoln's subsequent admirers understand that what the president said is that difficult decisions are not necessarily complicated. President Lincoln called for all Americans to be compassionate, caring, humble, and committed to defending the freedom of one another, born and unborn. Acknowledging that all power comes from God Almighty, we must do his will, and that is what the Gettysburg Address means to me. In conclusion, throughout Respect Life Month and our 40 Days for Life, I encourage all to take time out of their lives and help honor those babies, born and dead, affected by the horrors of abortion at 839 West Market Street. I would like to have a special thanks for all those P.L.Y.C members who have done a great job and continue to help the pro-life message, and I just think that's awesome. You guys are absolutely excellent. Nice.